So I surveyed over 100 people on Instagram, on Facebook, via text message, via email, in person, people I knew, people I don't know, asking them all the same questions. So if you participated in that, I appreciate you. What I asked was, what is your biggest struggle with your intuition? And I have to say, about 99.9999999% of people came back and said that they struggle the most with differentiating their intuition. So whether it's differentiating from anxiety, depression, from anger, from fear, but the top answer was, I struggle with differentiating my intuition from my ego. So I want to talk about that today because getting a grasp or a solid-ish definition is important, because the more you know about what your intuition is not, then the clearer you can get on what it is. Comparing it is a very, very good way of getting closer to creating a grasp of what it is. That's what we're going to do today. So we're going to talk about ego, we're going to talk about intuition, and we're going to get it. We're going to get it. Welcome back. My name is Sage Kabai, and I am passionate about connecting people with their intuition and helping them feel empowered through it. So if you're here and that's what you like, make sure you subscribe to my channel, make sure you like this video, and make sure you hit your notification bell, because these videos will keep coming. Today we're talking about ego versus intuition. We're going to start with ego. What is your ego? Your ego is your self-image, your self-importance, your self-esteem. You hear a lot of self. Your ego's theme song is me, 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 myself and I by Beyonce, whatever that real title is. That is your ego. Your ego is how you differentiate yourself from everyone else. Whereas your intuition is how you connect self with everyone else. It is literally the thread that connects you with every single other person, place, or thing. That is your intuition. And in fact, I wanted to show you these because this is from the Kim Cran's archetype deck, Wild Unknown. I love this deck, y'all. This is an oracle deck, an archetype deck, whatever you would like to call it. And I wanted to show you these cards, these archetype cards. One is the self, and one is the intuition, or the thread, what I'm talking about. So here it is. This is what I mean by the thread. The thread through the darkness. The thread to the happiness. This is the connection, the thread of life. This is how I envision intuition. If intuition was a physical thing, I think she did a marvelous job on this. If intuition was a physical thing, this is how it would look. Us holding on through the darkness to that rainbow right there. If intuition had to be an image, this is it. So hold on to that for a moment, right? Because as I just said, your intuition is the thread that connects you to every single other thing. Now, this is self, right? Because your intuition is also about yourself, but in a different way. This is the self that it's about. It's about that pearl, that gem inside of you. It's about that inner self. Whereas ego is about your self-image, your self-importance, your self-esteem. If you look at this image here, again, I love this because this figure doesn't even have any physical properties to it. Like, it has no appearance. It has no physical properties. This is what the self that you need to connect with in order to connect with your intuition. This is what it looks like. It looks like this gem right here. You could even call that the heart chakra right there. It looks like letting go of all of the rest, the self-image, the ego, the everything else, the physicality of this world, in order to connect with that gem, that heart, that inner being, that divine, that just sheds out light into the world. It is, so your intuition is a knowing. It is what you know inside. And it's something that is very difficult to define and explain because it's a sense, an extrasensory perception that comes through you and only you. So you can't really explain to anyone else because it's so subtle and yet it's so loud to you. But a lot of people are not going to understand because they don't get that same message, or they haven't received that same message through them. So intuition is a very tricky, difficult thing to define because it is so unique, it is so subtle, and it's so different each and every time. It's unbelievable. So I understand why people have a hard time differentiating it between fear and other kinds of guidance that comes through them. Now, a way you can differentiate between your ego and your intuition is by knowing where the energy is coming from. You have to know and ask yourself some questions. Is this subjective or is this objective? Am I emotionally tied to this message that I'm getting, or this guidance that I'm receiving? Is there some background to this? Is there something more to this? Intuition is very, very objective. It is not tied to any present, past, or future situation. It is just completely unrelated. Completely unrelated in the sense that it's not going to have an emotional feeling tied to it. Differentiate your ego and your intuition by remembering that your ego is going to be more subjective and your intuition is going to be more objective. So your ego is going to be more related and tied to the situation. It's going to be more tied to personal feelings. That's what makes it subjective. Your intuition is going to be more objective. It's not going to be related or tied to how you feel or how you have experienced things in the past or what you think is going to happen in the future. It has no relation to anything like that, whereas the ego does, because the ego is always for self. The ego is trying to protect self. The ego is always asking, what will this do for me? What can this do for me? How will this affect me? The intuition is not about self, as we just discussed. The intuition is about how you connect with everything and everyone else. So the intuition is there to serve your greatest good. And a lot of times that doesn't have anything to do with how you feel. Sometimes your intuition will guide you in a direction that feels very uncomfortable in what you think is a very unknown situation, because it knows what your greatest good is, and it knows how you tie into the universe, and it knows how you to relate to everyone else. Let me show you the card again. It is the string, right? The string in the darkness, you guys. It is the string in the darkness, but what's up here is your rainbow, because it knows. That's why I love this card, because I feel like there's no better image for the intuition than this thread. This thread that we are holding on to. So I hope that helps you to get a better grasp of ego versus intuition. If you feel this video was helpful, let me know in the comments below. Let me know how you are differentiating your intuition and your blank. What is your blank? Because I know a lot of people, the top answer was ego, but there were a lot of other answers, like I said. So as always, continue blessings. I'm here for you all on this journey as you continue to deepen your connection with your intuition. You can check me out on Instagram at sagekabida. You can check me out on Instagram. You can check me out on my website, sagekabida.com. All that information is in the description box. Until next time, blessings.